In international schools today, marketing and admissions are no longer just about filling places. They're about building relationships and delivering a personalized experience for every family. With rising parent expectations, growing competition, and rapid advances in AI and digital tools, schools are rethinking how they attract, engage, and convert prospective families. From the smarter use of data to more human, story-driven communication, personalization is becoming the new standard. In today's roundtable, held in partnership with UBIQ Education, we'll explore how technology is transforming marketing and admissions across the international sector, what's working, what's next, and how schools can balance automation with the human touch. I'm really delighted to be joined by our panel of marketing and admissions specialists from schools all around the world today for this conversation. To kick things off, if you could briefly introduce yourselves, your current role, and the regions that you're based in, that would be fantastic. Carme, would you mind just kicking us off?
Hi, everybody. Very happy to join the conversation with you all. I'm Carmen Escorcia. I'm the head of marketing and communications here at St. Peter's School in Barcelona, and I oversee the strategy with the whole team of marketing, communication, and admissions.
Brilliant. Thanks, Carmen. Wesley, would you go next?
Yeah, this is Wes. I work at the International School of Qingdao as the Director of Marketing, Admissions, and Communication.
Daryl, would you mind going next?
Yep. Hi, I'm Daryl Middleton. I'm the Global Partnership Director at UBIQ. We are a leading cutting-edge website agency looking to use data, AI, and personalization to drive better results for your website.
And Angelo.
Hello, everyone. Angelo Noviello, Director of Marketing and Admission at the British International School of Shanghai.
Fab. All right, fantastic. So kicking straight off my first question, from a broad strokes perspective, what does personalization in admissions really look like today, do you believe? What does it mean for your individual contexts? Angela, I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
I'd say that more than any other industry, personalization in school is a must. The product and the nuances of it has to be relevant to the family that walks in through the doors. Like if there's a kid, I very often make this example to my team. If there's a kid that really likes history and the first thing you show into the school is gym, we are starting with wrong foot. So I'd say that more than any other industry, personalization in the education sector is a must, and not always easy to achieve, especially for international school abroad, such as in Shanghai, because a lot of the communication for the expat family are done via email. Therefore, that's something that has to the right amount of information in before even you speak with the family.
Wes, in your context.
Yeah, very similar to Angelo. It for foreign families living overseas. It's trying to gather as much information as possible without feeling like it's over harvesting and being reciprocating of that information. I think for the personalization as well, being able to time that sequence, as Angelo mentioned, because a lot of correspondence is overseas. We don't want to be front loading them with all this information. It needs to be relevant and timely. You don't need to be front loading with, here's the 6 different PDFs and here's a link to this and that and the other. Make sure you also schedule this. And oh, by the way, can you give us 5 documents before you even visit? Like it is front loading. All of that stuff could be stressful. I've received it firsthand. Just be able to move to China to work here. And so, yeah, it's sequencing it, appreciating, obsessing over the end person and just appreciating where are they at in their stage and their cycle. Where are they at? What's their timeline for moving? And then trying to, with automation and then some personalization of just manually just making sure, like, am I making sure that they're getting what they need when they need it? Not too early, not too late, not too much, not too little.
And Daryl, working with schools, around the world, what do you see as sort of the high level broad perspective in terms of this question?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I suppose it's always kind of understanding what personalization actually means, and if you look at what it means, perhaps on everyone's day-to-day lives, you have personalization everywhere, whether it's Netflix, where you get your suggested TV to watch next, whether you're on Amazon to, someone's bought this, you should buy that next. So personalization is standard everywhere else. When it comes to school marketing, I think obviously we are starting to have these conversations. We're a little bit behind this sort of the kind of the time of the commercial world. It's about, from our perspective, it's about obviously gaining as much information as quickly as possible, whether that's using through technologies and the ability to track data from the website, and then providing the right information at the right time for the right part of the right journey to encourage them to move through that process. Obviously, in terms of the website, making sure that content is relevant to them and showing only the relevant content. So yeah, I suppose it's slightly before kind of getting to the admissions, someone that's already come into the school and, gone through to the kind of admissions form or inquiry. We're thinking about the journey before we get there. So what can we do to help the admissions team get the information so that when they do have that initial conversation, they've already got information on that family, then to be able to personalize that experience thereafter. So it's kind of understanding what's happening in the world. And then obviously we're doing at UBIQ is introducing some of the technologies to allow schools to start to think about this in a slightly different way.
Carme, it'd be great to get your thoughts on that one in terms of the marketing admissions piece for.
I agree with all of you. The only thing is that for me, personalization also happened apart from on the website. I think it's very important for us to listen to the families also during the tour in which when they arrive to the school, just listen to them and just realize what are the real needs and to understand if our school is really fit with the family vision. It's important to have a conversation that has and keep the human touch. And I think this is super important to be present when the family comes in person or virtually also, together with all the tailored content and information that they can have at the website. It's super important to listen to them and then realize if we can really attend their needs.
So that human touch is still vital, isn't it? Yeah. And sort of looking at the next question, so looking at digital tools, artificial intelligence, there's a lot of conversation around this and lots of tools and technologies out there. But how do you feel these tools are currently shaping school marketing in particular? In your individual context, perhaps how are you using some of these technologies? Wes, it'd be great to get your thoughts on that.
I think for the technologies, what's been important for us is the advertising piece, getting in front of them before they move. And so we want to be attentive to them when they're moving, when they're making the decision to move, or whether they, some families, if they are in the city or in China and they're wanting to make that move again to Qingdao or to another school, that we're advertising in that space. So that starts very early, trying to capture them before they're on our website. But we also want to drive them to our website. As far as going forward, like another tool would be some automation, as I mentioned with emailing. But as far as going forward, you can imagine there's so many more different options, so much more potential. You see schools now with I saw 2 schools, not in China, but in South Asia, with chatbots that are kind of robust. I was playing with it, just being able to try and serve up proper information for the family, helping curate that feed for them. For us, it means ads. It means helping with the sequencing and timing of the communications and segmenting them through their funnels, the purchasing funnel.
And Angelo, how are you approaching these digital tools and technologies?
At the moment, as Wes was pointing out, a lot in content creation, such as videos, photos, or polishing marketing piece, but a lot in the forecasting. So being part of North Anglia and as in a school that is for profit, forecasting is a good 70% of my job, and the huge amount of data is to put something together that then makes sense. AI has made them that super easy and super fast. Whereas, like before, you had to do it with the Excel, polishing the data in Excel, and then trying to create graphs because at the end of the day, the final product of your study goes to people that perhaps don't know the nuances of the data. So therefore, you have to polish and make it simple to read, and that meant time that you had to spend. So a lot into forecasting, data prediction, marketing, not much in admission though, because as we were saying before, personalization is a huge part of the admission process. Having a chatbot suddenly brought in removes that human touch that you want to feel in the admission. So I'd say that in admission, we are just discovering what can be done to basically allow the usage of this technology. But we are going very slow in that regard. But in marketing and forecasting, it's been a great help. Really, really great help.
Is that something, just out of interest, that's something you're testing, sort of where that line is in terms of the admissions piece at your school?
Definitely. We use a program, a software. I hope no one from North Anglia is watching this, but we use Salesforce, and I am completely, I'm not a fan at all of the software because I think it's been adapted to education. I think there are software that are way better, but I understand that now you're making a U-turn on a CRM is kind of late. North Anglia is 90 schools around the world, so that's something that is difficult. But yes, exactly what you say. We're testing it, and then after the testing part, trying to understand what implementation can be brought then in Salesforce, which is a very difficult software to deal with.
That integration piece is a big point, isn't it? Yeah, having all these different tools
Definitely
speak with each other. Yeah, exactly. Dara, I'd love to get your thoughts on that one in terms of digital tools, where you see things headed.
Oh yeah, I can probably spend a long time on this, given this is where we're kind of what makes us different at UBIQ. So I think the biggest thing at UBIQ, we launched back in 2021 to completely change the way that schools looked at their website, and then we're using some of these tools all within one system. I know obviously some of you talked about ChatGPT and content creation. What we're looking to use is kind of these tools to literally improve the marketing element of a school. So and we're thinking it from less than an admissions inquiry, because you already know who they are, but using those tools on the website to understand people that come onto your website. So we've got the cool thing to us is we're moving away from a sort of a static content management system, a CMS on the website, which if you know websites, that's what kind of is built upon. We've launched into the space the first digital experience platform for schools. So this is kind of a standard thing that happens in the commercial world. These tools kind of interconnect ecosystem. Basically allowing you to track user behavior. Off the back of that, you can then obviously look at personalization in real time, whether that's different language based on who that user is coming onto the website. But crucially, it's allowing schools to track individual journeys through the website, understand what works, what doesn't work, and obviously giving that information to allow them to update the website, to optimize the website. But crucially, the biggest bit that it allows the schools to do is put audiences into personas. So based on how they engage with the website, say, right, if they go onto X, Y, and Z pages, that's a good chance that's a prospective parent at the senior school. And so for the first time, schools are actually starting to be able to segment audiences on their website, again, to allow them to personalize those areas. So, what are the things that prospective parents at the senior school are doing and we should be doing more of? And it may be different to the junior school parents. It could be obviously very different to students and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of at the center of what we're doing with UBIQ and our tools. And as I said, we're introducing these kind of commercial kind of led technologies, but it's allowing schools to have this data. And then once you've got the data, then you can introduce a number of different things. So as I said, personalization. So based on maybe where the person's coming from, maybe the language of their browser, we can actually serve up a different language as soon as they come to the website. So it isn't a matter of the user having to select the language. Actually, that language shows straight away because we know maybe their browser set in Mandarin or Italian, etc. It means that every time someone comes back to the website shouldn't be the same. If we know who they are and what they're engaged with and they're interested in, the website should change. This is what you have on the shopping websites and stuff. There's no, this is probably the sector that probably needs this more than ever. So if we know they're a job seeker, why do we talk about the website from a parent's perspective when they come back to the website? If we know they're a job seeker, let's talk about sending them to the job section and the head's welcome, maybe talking about it as a place to come and work. So yeah, we've got a number of different tools and functionality. Hopefully we can talk a bit more about them later, but it is also combining some of the other comments as well, in terms of having that data to be able to then predict. So again, it's not predicting people that are already in the admissions funnel, which I think some tools already do that. We're talking about the people that haven't actually completed the inquiry form. We can identify those people based on what they've done and the information they've given us beforehand. So your admissions team can actually see them as a contact even before they've completed an inquiry form. And that's quite powerful then to then introduce more personalization when you do talk to them. But yeah, I can speak quite long on this subject.
Carme, how are you approaching the use of digital tools at your school?
From our experience, we are a little bit different because we are an independent school, so we don't have a big investment group behind. So we personalize, our personalization is a little bit more in small if we compare it with your cases, right? But for example, we also consider the importance of referrals in a moment in which you ask ChatGPT or any large language model. So we are updating the content in the website to be findable. So at the moment, for example, we are investing in how to adapt the website in order to have the frequently asked question, the format that is a little bit more findable for large language models, together with going to other sites outside the website of the school, because it's, as we know, referrals from external experts also give like extra positioning when you are trying to ask for parents what is the best school for my child, or in Barcelona, on these frequently asked questions that you normally use when you are trying to ask for the best international schools. And I think apart from the SEO, which is more traditional, now it's very important to start thinking in other terms and adapt all the content in the website so that it's easier for parents to have an answer when they are using artificial intelligence. This is something that is different from what you have been explaining. I think it can give us a little bit of discussion.
Especially, I suppose, in regions where there is lots of competition, it's even more important now to have the best journey will essentially capture the most amount of interest, right? So yeah, thanks, Carme. And now sort of focusing on sort of the role that the website plays, which is just so vital in driving meaningful engagement and conversation with marketing and admissions teams. Wes, I'd love to get your thoughts on what role the school website should play.
It needs to be your hub and your flywheel for all of your efforts to your target audiences. Definitely being part of Life Plus, the school system I'm part of, that was something that we really put first, is understanding our end users and being able to make sure that all the information for them is there. Going on, it's not a static thing. So as Karma was explaining, additional content pieces that we may have also published on socials should also be on the website. Additional pieces that should maybe just be on the website would be on the website. So it's constantly evolving that website or building on that website to make sure that it is reaching the audiences who are searching for us when they are in blank scenario, really understanding them. That helps so much. It helps so much. And another layer would be, with websites being web first, is I'm just quoting just great people that I could work with, is driving people back to the website, because then you have a more rich data set, more complete data set of your activities for people that are looking at your school. And then, as Karma was explaining, and Daryl was alluding to as well, then you can start appreciate the types of people as well. What are they doing on the website? And that really helps serve as another benchmark, or a way that, is my marketing efforts working? Am I just getting a bunch of views because I paid for some ad, but there's no conversions? Or is it actually working because I've built everything well? So websites, for me, I wholeheartedly believe, build everything on the website first. And I see the fruit of that because it gives you a more complete, rich data set, and it's always that go-to place where people can find it, find the right information they need. Feeds also ChatGPT or any other AI tools, feeds search engines as well. It's your authority, it's your flagship. Social media trends can come and go. Instagram and how it adjusts your content just makes you feel like, oh, what am I going to do now? But your flagship is always there. And your IP, so to speak, everything you built up over the years should still be there. It should still last. And you have control over it. Nobody else does.
And Wes, when it comes to that, do you have a sort of a review process quarterly, or how does it work in terms of looking at how the website's performing and sort of developments that you believe should be made?
So we are looking at increasing inquiries. And so as I'm running ad campaigns and linking back to the website, I'm seeing the results of it. I'm seeing whether it's working. I'm seeing whether there's conversions or completed events as how our website displays them. And then that's informing me. So that helps me adjust the next ad and the next round of review. So I'm reviewing them quite regularly. I'm not obsessing over it on a daily basis, but it helps inform me quite regularly. So for example, even just one very clear example, open houses. Because we ran the open houses and getting people back to our website, I was able to see very clearly how many people viewed the web page, how many people then completed the form, and what languages were they. That's invaluable for me now that we're talking about open houses for the school year. And what was the conversion rate of that? And how are we going to increase it? What was there too much information? How are we going to clean this up? Was I advertising in the wrong places? Like, it just helps me think more clearly rather than guessing. Oh, why did I only have 24 people in this one time? And why did I only have this many people at this one time? It's helping me think more of the whole funnel, so to speak. So yeah, look at it quite regularly for different strategies and different for different things. Yeah, based on what I'm focusing on.
Angelo, what do you believe the role of a school website should play?
We could speak at length, especially because in China, things are changing extremely fast with website. To simplify, I think there is a pre-COVID and a post-COVID. Pre-COVID, we used to get a lot of inquiries through our website, especially from abroad, right? From the West. Whereas in China, the website is somewhat not used very often. People rely more on social media, such as, for example, Leader Red Book. I don't know if you have heard. It's an Instagram/Facebook of China, or Douyin, the TikTok here in China, or Weibo, the 100% Facebook of China. So and word of mouth. That's a huge thing for Asian. At school, we have a differentiation between who uses what. So I would say, like, the West uses the website a lot in terms of inquiry. China used the Chinese social media. And then now we are exploring Facebook as well as Naver for Korea. 20% of our school is Korean. In fact, today I'm in Seoul because we had a big fair Saturday and Sunday. So I'd say that the importance of the website somewhat after COVID became a little bit less important for us as a focus. I'm lucky enough in a way that the website in the British International School of Shanghai is half and half responsibility of Central London and us. So in essence, we can change modules and a little bit of the structure, but we cannot change the structure, the big picture of the website itself, because Nord Anglia wants to keep a kind of a fil rouge between the website. They want that if a parent goes to a website of a school in China, feels the same of a school in Vietnam, and so on and so forth. Therefore, they used to have a kind of a 50% control of what happens on our website. So I would say that post-COVID, we have focused more on the social media rather than on the part of the website. Don't get me wrong, we still get quite few inquiries through our website, but it's more a marketing tool for us rather than an information point for parents, existing parents in school, that is run through newsletter, WeChat social media, Redbook, and so on and so forth. So I'd say they still play a good role, but not as central as it was pre-COVID.
Carme, what do you believe? What
For
the
us,
central school
I would say that for us, it's still very important. I think it's the first window or the first door to get to know St. Peter's or any other school here in Barcelona. And I think it's super important to have it very transparent with the content that the families are interested in. For example, we give a lot of importance in having our handbooks uploaded with and we take care of every detail so that they realize that we have a quality in the content that we prepared, which is aligned to the quality of the curriculum. So we give a lot of importance on being transparent and have all the information prepared and accessible to the public on the website. Also, coming back to the AI strategy, I think that up to now, we have to consider that our website is also where the knowledge base is uploaded, and together with the strategy, with directories, with having the present also display on international directories or in referral web pages and in Wikipedia, in social media, as Angelo was saying, was also very important. So it has to be very consistent, but in the end, the website for us is still the door in which our families fill in the inquiries and send the application form.
And Carme, just out of interest, how much is social media relevant to that sort of communications with prospective students and parents in Barcelona and in Spain more broadly?
It's very important for prospective families. We also do advertising both in Google and also in Instagram or Meta, okay? But we realize that more and more every time, I think parents are also focused on word of mouth and referrals, and also networking and events that happens in the city or webinars that occur online are also important to take into account for parents when they are trying to go through the channel, through the customer experience.
Daryl, I know we've touched on a bit of this previously, but yeah, what do you believe ultimately should a school website's role be?
Yeah, from our perspective, the website is your main sales and marketing tool. It's there to drive as many people in from your digital marketing into the website, and then the whole purpose is to make sure that the website is designed in a way or segmented in a way to drive your different audiences. Obviously, we're talking about prospective parents, more and more now students as well, becoming a bigger part of their own journey in terms of making decisions. But then schools are complex and they've got lots of different audiences. And so then we're talking about the current parents, alumni, donation, there's lots of other elements. So the first thing is the website needs to be thought about in terms of your different personas. So you're building the right content at the right time so that encourage them to move through the website. The biggest thing for us is the shift, from our viewpoint anyway, is the shift from having a website which is generally being quite static in the school space. So what normally happens with schools is they choose an agency, build a website, and it kind of stays the same for the next 5 years. Of course, you add news and you may have a social feed, and that's the kind of the bits that change. But the actual UX, UI, customer journeys, they stay the same. And what happens is schools add pages and content, and over 4 or 5 years' time, the website starts to deteriorate. It gets to a point that's a bit embarrassing, and then you go through this whole rebuild. So the big thing from our perspective and our clients is the fact that the mentality has changed. So we're going to give you your initial website when we work together. That is your version 1 of the website, as best as it can be based on the information as part of the design process. Once it goes live, then it's an ongoing live website, and we want to continuously optimize it and make it better and better. And that's when the digital experience platform comes into its element, where you can start to track what you call first-party data. So this is understanding and tracking everyone that comes to your website. 95% of those people, you won't know who they are, but we have their IP address. We can see what they're doing and how they're doing it. At the right times, they'll do enough. They'll give you enough information so that we can actually start to then create a contact from that person. And then once we have that as a contact, that's when we can see what people are doing even before they've converted. So this is all the people that haven't necessarily converted. We can start to identify them now, which you've never been able to do before. That allows lots of different things. One is obviously you can put people into personas. Again, based on what we said earlier, whether they're a prospective parent, senior school, whether they're a job seeker, and you can look at how websites working for individual groups. But it also means that we can identify people that may be highly, highly active on the website, been into the admissions section 5, 10 times, but haven't converted. And so for the first time ever, we can now identify those people. And if you want, you can start to market to those people because we know who they are, what they're engaged with. And so all of a sudden you're shifting from hoping people come to the website and then go through to convert to actually now identifying those individuals. And not only identify them, we have the tools now to automate the marketing outreach. So we can automatically, or you can automatically put them into a drip campaign from the platform that's personalized. It could be aimed at prospective parents at the senior school. So for the next 5 weeks, they may get an email from the system every week talking about kind of all the cool stuff happening at the senior school, with the view that if we can get 1 or 2 of those families to come back in, which may have left the website and are looking at other school websites and maybe your competitors, if you get 1 or 2 of those to come back in, all of a sudden your conversion levels are shooting up. Obviously, we'd hope to get far more than that. So it's the website is changing. It needs to be a dynamic marketing tool as opposed to a static marketing tool. We've talked about, and obviously the bigger subject here is personalization. If we know who they are, obviously we can start to change and adapt. Again, you need the right tools to be able to do this. So if someone comes in and we know they're a senior parent, maybe the images, when they come in, they only see senior school images. They don't see junior school images because they're not interested in the little kids. They're interested in the senior kids. Vice versa, it could be the other way around. It could be based on languages. It could be based on the where you've come from. So maybe you get pointed to a different landing page specific to that particular audience. And so all of a sudden, the website should be completely dynamic, changing and evolving. And so what you have now should be different to what you may have in 2, 3 years' time. The underlining point, though, is that you're collecting the data and you've got this real powerful data to allow you to do some of these exercises. But also, one of the recent tools that we've just launched is the ability to query the data. So in real time, you can actually go on the back end and go, right, how many people have come from this country, and actually query the data that you've collected, and it will give you the answers. And so it's quite scary how quickly this is moving forward and some of the tools on the back end. That's where we see school marketing moving forward, and it should be. Generally speaking, though, the school marketing space is quite behind. And so we've come in, hopefully making a bit of fuss. We're working with about 200 schools now that kind of and groups that kind of understand where they need to get to. And those are the schools that are seeing massive increasements in conversions by using data and optimizing the website in a far better way. But yeah, your main marketing tool still, from our viewpoint anyway.
Moving to my next question, which is sort of the onboarding and parent engagement side of things in terms of those strategies that you found most effective for making new families feel genuinely welcomed and supported. I'd love to get some of your thoughts on what you've experienced in your schools in that area. Angelo, I'd love to get your thoughts on that one.
I think we launched a couple of years ago. We always had a buddy system for students. Like being an international school, you get. We have at school now 51 different nationalities. So you'll understand that if you come to school and you're Italian, for example, you feel a little bit out of place. Perhaps you're coming from Italy, from a small school, and suddenly you are in a 1,500 student school, the other side of the world. So the buddy system really worked for the kids. Ultimately, for the families, the easier is the transition from the start to the point where the kid feels home at school. The easier is the peace of mind suddenly, settles in, and then you're like, okay, I found my place. We recently, we had 3 years of very intensive COVID in China. So just recently we were able to do kind of the same with parents. So the new parents group acts like a big, huge buddy system for new parents. It's a bit difficult to get Chinese parents in. We can't really filling the school with Chinese passport holder, but there are Chinese that have other passport, and that's now growing in terms of demography in school. So the new parents group has been a huge help to allow those parents to, draw them inside the community, because at the end of the day, community is a huge part of a school, and not paying attention just to kids, but also to parents has been very, very helpful, as well as introducing two new things in school: the parents events team that help us to run events, as well as activity for parents. So basically, we open our amazing facilities to parents that want to do yoga or Zumba or tennis or whatever. Again, trying to bring that sense of community that was lost for the past 3-4 years because of COVID. That has been a huge help.
Very interesting. Yeah, because I know a lot of parents sort of naturally start to form their own sort of WhatsApp communities and groups, don't they? Which sort of develop organically. But the fact that you're intentionally doing that is very interesting. And it sounds like sort of opening the school up to, I mean, you're obviously showcasing the school at the same time, right? But you're opening it up to sort of an events community space as well, which sounds really
interesting. It helps a lot with retention also, because currently in school there has been a very, very big discussion on how much the marketing, admission, and communication team can actually impact on retention. Certainly, none of the parents is deciding to stay at school because the director of admission and marketing is stylish, or the admission officer is very nice and warm, and they decide ultimately to stay because they like the product, they feel at home, and therefore I think the new parents events team, the community, that is overseen a little from my team side, I think has brought quite a few benefits.
And it's that link, isn't it, between admissions, marketing, and the academic teams, and the wider school, which is key, right? It sounds like you're doing a very, very, very good job there. So yeah, very interesting. Carmen, I'd love to get your thoughts on that one in terms of.
Well, I agree with Angelo completely. I think admissions, might have not the final impact. I think we really have to work all together in the same, because in the end, everybody's doing marketing too. Everybody is showing is a face of the school, right? From reception to maintenance, to anyone who is working at St. Peter's is giving a face of what is the school, what is the visions, and who we are. And for retention, that is much more important than an inquiry. And coming back to that, I wanted to say, because you were saying a lot about business intelligence and data, that everything is not measurable. So we have, we cannot measure anything. So things have to be also taking care in each and any detail. Okay, so I think that building a community starts from the very beginning, and you can really organize things like, for example, the ambassadors with parents, like for example Angelo was explaining. I think it works really, really well, because it's not the same giving like a feedback or an information from the admissions teams or the marketing teams than introducing a parent that might be, for example, from the same nationality, or can have the same experience in the past, or come from the same school that they were with the family, than coming from myself. Okay, so the impact is much more powerful if I introduce someone who is a family who is already happy at the school and is connected to the whole community. So together with events and parents' participation, I think is the most important for retention and for belonging to the community. I think we put a lot of emphasis in that, and everybody has to be on board.
And that matching process with prospective parents and existing parents, obviously the more you know about each side, the better you can match them, right? Yeah. Well, what does that process look like?
So, for example, during the process of admissions, if the parent is interested, I ask some of my host families, which are in different age groups. For example, imagine a year one student who is going to join the year one group. So we have like host parents in each of the groups, and I can connect them, and then they can have a first meeting. And also, if it moves forward, they can then introduce them into the WhatsApp or the parent group, and then they can start doing activities together. This is how we do it. And then when the family arrive and is onboarding, we do some follow-up once the school year has started. In 3-4 weeks, we do like a follow-up with the family to see if everything is correct, if they are starting to make friends, if they are connected, and make sure that everything is on track. And then during the year, we also organize activities with parents, then events that are important, for example, or are symbolic. For example, the International Day is always a great event for us that takes place in the first term. And it put together members of the same community, okay? So it's a great way of integrating everybody and feel a sense of belonging.
Wes, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, everybody was very comprehensive, from being intentional with events, being parents in, to onboarding them, getting connected with current parents and longtime parents. Very comprehensive. I would add on to that a couple pieces for the communications. As I mentioned earlier, don't be bombarding them with a bunch of messages. Be sensitive to the timing of it. So when they're coming to, they've been accepted. You're saying here's payments. You're not bombarded with a bunch of information. Likewise with the onboarding, you're collecting more information from them at a later stage. Whatever feels more frictionless, or less friction, more at ease, more comfortable. And then for like the welcome to the first day of school, we want to meet with you. So we have like a new student orientation or a new family orientation for those group settings where we're welcoming them, sequencing all of those things out to make sure that it's very clear and very actionable. It's not reading a dictionary, so to speak, of like what pertains to me. So continuing on with that, being predictable after with the communications when it's division-wide and school-wide messaging, being predictable, making sure you have your lunch menu out at the right time, making sure things are just polished and well done. We move away from our website for a lot of those communications afterwards. So we have a communications platform to messaging parents, but then we will be linking back to the website for photos and things like that. Buddy system, all that stuff, those are all great points. I just want to add a little bit of don't bury your parents, please. Please don't bury your parents in information.
Yeah. Darryl, your thoughts on that one in terms of personalizing the parental engagement piece?
Yeah, I think there's very three bits from our perspective. One is we talked about data and what you can track in terms of on the website, in terms of first party data and that kind of stuff. Obviously, the first thing is that we work with a number of admissions platforms. I won't give them a shout out here because there's quite a few of them, but it's important that your data flows through. It's important that you can combine the data and what's happening on your digital marketing through to your website, through to admissions. So you have this joined up understanding of actually what's working. And the ideal situation would be, if you spend X amount of money on this particular advertising campaign, this will create this amount of opportunities, inquiries based on the website data that you have, which then leads into your admissions funnel, which your different numbers. So you should be in a situation at some point in the future to be able to go spend this and you'll get this in return. So that's the first point is making sure the marketing admissions is joined up. It's not in isolation. And that's the first point in making sure that your admissions and marketing is joined up. And that's not just, it's a link on the website. I'm talking absolute integration in terms of data flow so you can use it properly and see the bigger picture. The second point is then using some of the tools. We talked about personalization and the ability to personalize the website experience. That shouldn't stop at the website, or at least from the parent's perspective. So, for example, we got a school, Ibstock School in the UK, that are using some of the technology to personalization tools. as actually part of the onboarding new parents and students process. So most schools that I've spoken to, the parent, the student gets accepted. They send out an email with a bunch of PDFs. Here's a bunch of documents. Fill all that out. Very generic. Come back with the answers. What we've created for that particular school is actually their own kind of landing experience where they come in. The whole website's page is personalized. It's a personalized link. Introduces the page by the student's name. It talks about their parents with their parents' name, and all the content that is relevant to that particular student in that particular age group is on this personalized page. And there's links and things to go off. So it's not stopping just because we've done the personalization at getting them on board. The personalization should be throughout their whole life and journey from a marketing and comms perspective at the school. So obviously we've talked about, there's one thing getting new students in the door. We want to make sure we keep the ones that are obviously at the school already. And the third and final bit, which kind of goes into that, is again using the ability to track user behavior. So a lot of our schools are moving towards having the parent portal information, which is typically a link on the website, or maybe it's a module within the website. But again, if it's on the website and we've integrated maybe single sign-on with your actual SIS system, or ISAMs or whatever it could be, where parents log in and they come into the website. Again, we're using the DXP, the digital experience platform, to track user behavior, current parents and current audiences, as well as obviously prospective parents. And you can start to understand what different age groups, parents at different age groups want, what they're looking at. And then you can obviously either increase things or decrease things. And I will last thing I will mention, because I know it was mentioned earlier about, again, social media and how much social media drives obviously people to the website. What we're finding with the data actually is that drives in most websites, the most people to the website is from social media. It's the least performing category, just from the data that we've seen. More people come
in terms
to the
of
website,
conversion, in terms of the amount of people that get driven from social media.
Yeah.
Then interesting. Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's talked about social media being the big hot thing, not on this call, but just generally speaking over the last 4 to 5 years. But actually, the data that we're seeing now is one of the least performing drivers to the website. So why spend all your time doing it if that is the end result you're trying to get from digital market, from social media, and actually spend the time doing the things that actually clearly are getting you more conversions.
Interesting. Yeah. And I imagine that will sort of shift by region. As Angelo, you've said, many of your inquiries do come from social media, so it'll be interesting to see how this evolves over time. Yeah,
I think,
thanks, Darren.
right. Well, that's that. Yeah, in terms of region, it depends on where the school is and where the group's located, that kind of stuff. Because China, obviously, it's a lot more WeChat and some of the other platforms versus some other markets.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Moving on to my last question. So, looking at, obviously we're all relatively early on in this journey, and schools are trialing all these different tools and technologies and seeing what's working, what's not working, and adapting and evolving pretty rapidly at the moment. So, in your eyes, what would you say would be some cost-effective ways to sort of start on this journey in terms of personalizing the admissions journey, the marketing process more so? So, if your school's maybe limited on budget, or they're early on in this process, where do you think they should focus first to sort of make some of the biggest differences, do you believe? Wes, it'd be good to get your ideas on this last question.
Well, clear feedback from your families, your most recent families, is going to be incredibly helpful. If you're wanting to zoom out and have a more macro approach, then seeing where there's gaps or deficits in your marketing, in your admissions journey, and then deploying the solution for that. Yeah, I mean, for us, again, appreciating, for example, a family in Korea, as Angela is in Korea as well. We're right next door to Korea, by the way, in Qingdao. So appreciated the fact that a lot of families will be over in Korea. What does their journey look like? And where are we seeing gaps? Where are we seeing fallout? Are we seeing that in the past we had X amount of inquiries and now we're seeing less? Let's put our efforts there. Are we seeing that there's just a breakdown after they inquire and then there's just silence? Like, where are we missing? Just obsessing over your data set, obsessing over the end user to really appreciate what's going to be best for them. So starting directly, just immediate feedback, clear feedback, hopefully clear feedback from multiple sources. So you're not running around and chasing a comment here and a comment there and a comment here and a comment there without having a clear focus over what's going to best impact your inquiry or whatever your end goal is, or just take a step back. What is your market? Where are the users at? Where are your clients at? And where are they needing a lift, so to speak?
Angelo, your thoughts on that last question?
I might be going a little bit off topic in sense of I don't believe that the first investment should be the marketing and the mission and communication. Rather, investing in the product, keeping it relevant for the community, because our biggest channel for conversion is word of mouth. Therefore, if making the product, like using the Mac team to investigate on how your demography, as well as what parents want with that huge shift of demography. And again, it's specifically for China, which is changing so fast. Providing that piece of information to the academic team and having a product that is always relevant and is always changing and responding. Look at AI, right? AI now is getting into education. How fast it's going to shape the education. Schools are very heavy organization that are very difficult to pivot towards the last technology or the last piece of information. We still use the Montessori on some, not on a beast, but I see a lot of school in China, which was developed in the 50s. So, like a great tool, but the world is evolving, industries are evolving. I think the best bet for school is to keep their product relevant. The rest will come by itself. I think this is my take for the past 10 years being in this industry.
Carme, your thoughts on that one?
I couldn't agree with you more, Angelo. I think the most important thing is being up to date and really have like the best service possible. For example, we have like an innovation committee with experts that come from outside the education field, and we are connected to what is happening, what is changing in societies, quantum physics, AI, mathematics, what is happening with critical thinking. This is super important. We really have to pay attention to the feedback of the parent, but also forecast how society is going to be changing and like really see the signs of change for the future and adapt to the new society that is coming. And I think this is the best we can do for our families and for retention, because when you are updating the curriculum and be at the forefront of innovation in any education field, I think the parents will appreciate it and will retain them more than like read a comment on the website. Okay, I think this is more important because we also have to differentiate what is like overprotecting kids than really listening to the real needs. And the real need is to prepare the children for the future, to get ready for the future. And I think this is the most important part that we have, not only admissions, but also schools in general.
Daryl, your thoughts on that last question in terms of where a school should start?
Change of mindset. And that's probably the biggest thing I could say, is in the sense of seeing the website as your main marketing and sales tool, and understanding what it can do and the results it can get back. And so you have to invest properly. And I appreciate the smaller schools that will say they have no, limited budget, but then they're the same schools that go and spend a lot of money on digital marketing because they need the numbers. So they think if they spend more money, more people come to the website. Well, actually, if you optimize the website and understand what's happening on the website, you will get better conversions with the numbers that you already have. And so we're already seeing that with schools, increases of 30, 40, 50% increasements purely on the numbers, actually reducing the number of people coming to the website because we can use the data to actually reduce your marketing spend. And so, yeah, it's a change in mindset. It's a tricky one, and I know Angela has mentioned it with Nord Anglia. It's a tricky one in the world of school groups and how individual schools are managed versus kind of the school group mentality where everything's on that central level. We work with school groups, we work with individual schools. It's a challenge. Every school group's different, and it comes down to the right people at the right place, understanding what should be done versus just seeing the website as a cost. If you see it as a cost, you're just going to have the same stuff and you're never going to move forward. And I think a lot of schools unfortunately, with the management, see it still as a cost when actually it could get you some really quick wins, quick results. The other thing I should just say as well is in terms of collecting data, and we're talking about AI, you need data. You need first-party data to do that. It isn't something that you can just turn a switch on. Just because you have a digital experience platform doesn't mean all of a sudden you have all this data that you can personalize stuff. It takes time to learn. It takes time to gather that data. And so one of the things as always is what you do now will affect what happens in 2 to 3 years' time. If you leave it 2 to 3 years' time to then make the changes, you then have, you're going to be so far behind the competition. So yeah, but top level is changing mindset and understanding what the website could or should be doing.